Excellent. Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to I.G.A.S. I haven't done this stream. Oh, I haven't done a stream like this in years, so this is gonna be very fun to see how this goes. Why don't you introduce yourself, Jack, to everybody?
Sure. Yep, my name is Chuck Goodwin. I am a competitor and fighter in the sport of Bohurt and armored combat. So basically think knight fighting in full steel armor. I go by the Woodchuck Knight, which is kind of my nickname. And I'm here to talk to you, Eric, about my story and anything else you're interested in today.
Yeah, why don't you explain a little bit about like how Bohurt works to the masses? I don't know.
Yeah, so Bohurt is kind of international name for it. Some of us in the U.S. call it armored combat, sports armored combat, night fighting. It's got a bunch of different names, but essentially it is if you think MMA in full knight armor. Well, in full steel and titanium, you're fighting with steel weapons, and there's different disciplines within that. I particularly fight in the melee, which is where I focus. So melee is team fighting. So 5-on-5 matches, 3-on-3, 10-on-10, where you're competing in a wooden arena, wooden list, we call it, a wooden box, and you're fighting against your opponents, and it's essentially first to take down wins the round, and you fight a certain number of rounds per tournament. So if I knock everyone else down on the other team, either by throwing them, kicking them, hitting them, hard with an axe, and they sit down, that's how you win the rounds. And then there's individual stuff, which is closer to traditional MMA, set rounds and set rounds, rounds where you're scoring by points or by decision by refs and things like that. But that's the sport I compete in.
Yeah, I remember asking you about like how weapons and stuff that works in the stuff like just so everybody knows, they have like a huge restriction on like bludgeoning weapons for obvious reasons. And I believe piercing weapons as well would be very scary as well, I imagine.
Yeah, there's essentially no stabbing or piercing type strikes allowed in the sport. This sport is based off the original historical medieval tournament formats. They work, so the term melee actually comes from is from these tournaments, and it's very similar to those where you have to use swinging and striking weapons only because you can't stab, because even with all that armor on, stabbing is what could injure / kill someone. As far as the bludgeoning, yeah, we have weapon restrictions on weights. So most you'll find fighters fighting with swords. Heavy falchion type swords or axes, one-handed, two-handed axes, pole arms, but you won't find any warhammers because a warhammer is designed to smash armor or pierce through it with the with the hook, the beak end. We have maces are allowed, but they're restricted in weight. They're lighter than a historical mace would be because again, that's designed literally to break armor. And while it is a sport that is about pain compliance and there's a lot of violence in it, I do want to, get up and go to work the next day and want my competitor to do that too. So you'll find that most of the bludgeoning weapons tend to be axe-shaped axes. Still have a blunt edge, and those do deliver a lot of force. A lot of you can break armor, you dent it all the time, but usually you walk away pretty fine, just bruised and beat up pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to like sort of like medieval combat, it's kind of always been interesting to me, like with full like contact sport, especially with something as crazy as Bohurt, because it's like a lot of martial arts put together, which is crazy to me. I always love that. It is fantastic. But like it reminds me a lot of like the medieval conception, or this is pre-medieval, but maybe Bronze Age. But like during the Roman Empire, the way that they would have gladiatorial combat reminds me a lot of that, where they wouldn't necessarily kill their opponents, even though that's a major misconception. It kind of works in that way, except it's more of a extreme case. But like in this, you guys are way more protected. It reminds me a lot of American football, actually, from what I've seen.
Yeah, there's a similarity to it. I mean, So historically, like again, back in the 1400s, when this kind of came into vogue, this kind of tournament fighting, you had a bunch of knights and men at arms who there'd been a bunch of wars, and then there weren't a bunch of wars. You know, these knights wandered around, and they started setting these tournaments as training tools, but also ways to keep kind of guys from going out and killing each other with nothing else to do. And you know, this became in Germany in particular, and then across medieval Europe. There were people would make a living. There'd be traveling knights who would go tournaments, and they would win money at these tournaments by competing and winning the tournaments or performing well, and they get benefactors, and that's kind of how it started. And then late 80s into the beginning of the 90s, this sport was brought back to life in the Russia, Ukraine area. That area kind of they just started a bunch of reenactors who were like, well, what if we did it for real? And it grew, and then now we've codified it and sportified it and made it a little bit safer. And we have restrictions and rules, and now it's an international league, and I've fought all over the U.S., and I've fought internationally in Germany and in Spain, and I've fought all over the country at different levels of competition, from local club events to the highest level international competitions.
So you've been kind of like all around. That's crazy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is a lot. It's very fun to hear that the Bohurt community is kind of crazy, because like there's a lot of times where I've heard negative things about the Bohurt community, and it's not necessarily that it's all bad. It's just that like one of the experiences that I've seen is like Sensei Seth and how he was treated throughout it, and how negative that space was for him.
Yep.
But that's
now Sensei. I mean, I've met Sensei Seth, and for those who don't know, he's got a YouTube channel that basically tries out different martial arts, all different types. And he did go a couple years back to a local-ish kind of club team, which he didn't have a great experience with. I don't think they treated him as safely as they should have. Since then, he was invited to Carolina Carnage, which is the largest Bohurt competition in the U.S. 500 plus fighters. And he came, and there's a video up that he has on his channel now, more recently, which I'm featured in, as well as some of my other teammates, as well as a ton of other people, where he watched that, and he kind of got a real feel for what it really is, right, at the higher level, at the competitive level. We talk about, kind of just like anything else. I mean, you could pick any sport, and there's going to be some guys who are doing it in their backyard, and then there's guys who are doing it at quote-unquote professional or semi-professional level, and I think he just kind of, he didn't know what to go for, so he found a local group, and it just wasn't the right. They didn't have enough experience. So and there's not a lot of you could go and you could buy armor and tell you to a fighter and set up a ring in your backyard, and that's how the sport started. So I'm not knocking that, but at this point, it's grown to where there are, at least in the U.S., there's a lot of established clubs and teams that have been around for a while. I fight for the New England Executioners, which is the regional New England team here in the U.S. It's one of the oldest clubs in the country. Won more medals in our training room. There's more medals and trophies than I can tell you for U.S. and international competitions. I've personally won the world championship in two different events. The men's 5-on-5 and the men's 16-on-16s in Spain at the IMCF World Championships. And so there is a level of just like anything else. Are you playing like, beer league, local, pro, semi-pro, pro, and there's just like, what you're doing. So, so Sensei Seth he had kind of a rougher experience with it. I just don't think they set him up for success.
No, I know. I remember that video very vaguely, mind you. It's been a while since I've seen it, and I haven't really been keeping up with his channel, sadly. He's a very big, like, if I don't remember wrong, he's a very big martial arts man. Which is the fun part. I really like that, but it's but like from what I remember, he did like a bunch of like skits and stuff. But like when I saw the Bohurt thing, I got a very negative connotation originally from your sport because of that video. I was like, oh, that seems very scary. And then I read the comments of that video. I was just like, that's really bad. You shouldn't do that. I was like, okay, so this is not normal. So I figured that out from like reading the comments of that video. So
yeah, and like anything else, I mean, it depends on where you get into it and who you get involved with. We try really hard, at least in my club, in my region, like we really try to train people up. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel saying like, don't buy armor for 6 months. Right, when you get involved, like don't buy anything. Come fight, train, practice. We do a lot of our training in what we call soft kit, so foam weapons, foam shields. That's most of our sparring because, one, it takes a long time to get all your armor on. I had a practice with my team last weekend, which is one of our armored practices, and it takes 45 minutes to an hour to get everybody armored up. then you do all your training, then you got to armor down. So like that alone, but also wear and tear on the body. I'm wearing, but you're wearing between 50 and 100 pounds of armor, depending on your kit and your weight, and your size. So like you got that wears on you over time. So a lot of our practice is in foam stuff, and we walk through and do throws and do techniques and do strikes. Then we armor up and practice, and then we go to real competitions and we fight for real. And it's kind of just like training up. Similar to MMA, you don't see a lot of MMA fighters doing a lot of hard sparring right now, because they learn that if you go in every practice, you beat each other to death in your practice. Well, then it's really hard to compete at the end of the month, right? So you kind of ramp up to that, and you do some hard sparring sessions, but most of it is about learning the skills.
Yeah, I mean, because like I watch a lot of YouTubers when it comes to like medieval stuff. I don't really have HEMA practice yet. I haven't really done that. I haven't done Bohurt. I haven't really done any other stuff. I just know medieval knowledge. That's like where I am at, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a massive fantasy guy, right? I am and that's where I draw, and I draw like a lot of stuff for like from history. I do, which is why I really like. I really like the medieval period. I really like the high medieval period specifically. Like I recently played through KCD2, which is a fantastic game, by the way. I love that game. And like going through a lot of this stuff, I don't necessarily have the on-hands experience. I'd love to do it at some point. I mean, right now I'm training a lot, and it's it's very good to like kind of like do that stuff and figuring out how how to do that stuff. But it's always been kind of like scary to me, and it is probably scary to you that's watching, right? Like to like dive into like the entire thing, even if you're in a full suit of armor. Like there's so many times where it's been explained that it's super claustrophobic, it's super scary, and I can totally imagine that it can't be. I don't know how many people have put on armor in your case that has just straight up been claustrophobic. Immediately.
I mean, it happens. I think there is no. You'll hear people talk in the sport about like CO2, like backwash and like inability to breathe. That's not actually real. It doesn't matter which helmet you're in. There's enough oxygen and air. It is psychological, and it's heat. Right, so you're wearing the weight feels heavy, and you're under basically kind of wearing a snowsuit. You're wearing a padded jacket, a gambeson, padded pants, right, and then you're wearing armor over it. So that kind of that feeling of claustrophobia is real. And then you're inside this helmet where, depending on your helmet type, you have how much visibility, and you feel like you can't breathe, and you overheat, and that's something you have to overcome through time and training. But it's not gonna like you're not in there actually unable to. That's kind of just a feeling versus a reality. But it is scary, and I'll never minimize. I mean, part of what I like about the sport is the danger and the violence and the scariness. Like I talk a lot about how it's the most honest sport I've ever done, and what I mean by that is like there's almost nothing off limits. Right, there's a couple things you can't do. You can't strike to the groin, back of the knees, feet, and back of the neck, essentially. And some leagues are even side of the neck, some aren't, depending on the armor requirements. Right, everything else is pretty much fair game. So what I like about it is you can wrestle people, you can grapple, you can be a great weapon striker, you can work as a team if you're team fighting. But the guy facing you across the list, he's there to hurt you. You're there to hurt him. Now, not injure. I'm not there to break a person, but I'm there to make him hurt and go, hey, you don't want to fight me anymore today. It hurts too much, right? At the end of the day, we get each other up, we go out, we usually go out, we party afterward, right? Like that's kind of how it works. But there's an honesty to it, right? There's not a lot of contrivedness to it. You're just there, and that's a competition, and you're going to do this thing. And I love that. It's what kind of drew me into it. But it is a lot, and that's why I recommend people who are interested in it. The first thing you want to do is find your local club. Find a local club. And by local, I mean anyone within 3 to 4 hours of you, right? Like find someone you can drive to once and just get a feel for it. I've yet to meet a team anywhere in the world that has not been excited to have people show up.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, when I traveled to England to visit my wife's family last year. My wife's grandmother, she's English. When in England, I just found the local club and I called them up and said, hey, can I train with you guys for a day? And I went to train with Invicta out of England, and I trained with them for one of their training sessions. I had a great time, right? When I went to Ireland, a few years back, I found the local Bohurt guy in Ireland, and I went to his house and hung out with him for a while, because like everyone wants to grow this. So I think the first thing is, if you're on the edge going, I'm interested in this, go try it. They're going to have you do some training. They'll probably give you soft weapons and you'll do soft sparring, right? No one's going to throw you in armor and have you fight the toughest guy in the school, because we want people to be involved, right? And that's kind of the way it grows.
That is, yeah, that is a very good way of putting it. Like, it is, man, yeah, because there's like, like I reckon, like in every single country there is at least one club. Right, the only place.
Yeah, I mean, in most. Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably just a couple of countries. Like most of Europe is going to have this for sure, no doubt in my mind.
I think Europe's pretty well covered. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Switzerland. I think you'd be surprised if you found somebody in Luxembourg, but like Luxembourg is so close to like 4 other countries, which literally probably have it, right? Which is the thing. Yeah. It's
and there's a lot of clubs around the country. I mean, every country's different. I mean, there's a world. Every country's different, and every region is different, right? But it's been growing pretty consistently. Like, again, when I traveled to Germany to compete in Way of Honor last year, there were clubs from all over the world. There were teams from all over the world that come for that. And that was there are 2 styles of kind of world events. I'll put them. There's like club events. So the one in Way of Honor, Germany, that I went to, you brought your local team. So it's just teams would fly out and all fight, right? Then there's another league, the IMCF, which is country based, and you compete as part of your team. So I fought for Team USA when I won the World Championship, fighting for the USA team. But I fought against Germany team and Denmark team, whatever the teams were, right? But there's a ton of competitions where you just can sign up and go, hey, like, I want to go and fight with my club, and I want to go fight in a country I've never been to, and you sign up for them, right? And they're all over the world. My team is we're sitting down, conversing about it the next couple of weeks, but like, where do we want to go next year? Like, what events do we want to be part of, right? Because there's always such cool things to do. And it's one of those things that I love about the sport the most, is it's given me an opportunity just to go do stuff, right? Like, I don't think I would have gone to Spain. Actually, I know it wouldn't have. I had no thought of it. It was never crossing my mind. It wasn't a thing I was in my. But I went to Spain for the World Championship, and I got to see Spain and see a bunch of great stuff there, and that was wonderful, right? I've been all over the U.S. because of it, for the same reasons. I fly all over the place and compete because it gives me kind of a reason, and I get to go with my team, and we get to meet other people who are like-minded. It's really awesome.
It's not in the Olympic Games, is it? Like Bohurt?
It is not.
Oh,
it is
that's
not.
A shame. I would actually watch that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
I foresee a someday, like if it continues to grow, there'll be a someday, right? It'll probably be after I've aged out of it, but it'll be a someday. If we keep growing it like it's been growing the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it is very good, because I do hope that it eventually gets there, because, it might give me a reason to watch the Olympic Games, because I don't. Because, there's no reason for me to watch any of it, because the reason that Norway wins, like, all the ski or like,
Yeah, you guys win all the cold things.
Yeah, yeah. We suck at everything else, but we win everything when it comes to the winter shit,
Yeah.
Oh, my God. But, like, everything else we suck at, because of course we fucking do. But yeah, like, but yeah, it's crazy. I do want there to be an Olympic game for that. I think it would be brilliant if we got it. I think it would actually be kind of great. I'd like to see the sport evolve, and like every single, because like I wonder what would happen if we got a Japanese Bohurt team, right? I wonder if they would use Japanese stuff, I wonder if that would happen. That would be very interesting.
I mean, there are Chinese teams that compete. We've had the China team come over and compete. They, and there are regulations and rules on the. So your armor technically is supposed to. I think it's within 50 years. All of your equipment has to match within 50 years of a time period and a space. I'll be very honest. I'm on the sports side of it more than the historical side. I care more about the competition, the fighting. I love the history and I like it, but I'm not looking through manuscripts for armor. It's not a thing that I'm doing, right? But you can wear different styles of armor. The reason you'll see most fighters in like 14th century European kits is just because of the simplicity. It's what's being made that you can easily get made, and we all know it's safe and it all works. There are a few guys out there in like modified. There's one guy who fights dueling who's in like a modified samurai kit that they've had to get approval for adjustments, but he does it. There are like more Arabian type kits. I'm thinking the phrase that are approved that people fight in that as well. It just tends to be like that 14th century is kind of the right fit of cost versus efficiency. Because once you start getting to the later 15th century or some of the other ones, it just gets really expensive. So you got to really want to have that cool thing and pay to have it custom made. Where I won't say my stuff's off the shelf, but it's a little more off the shelf. The armorers make a lot of the same helmet for a lot of us, right? So we go, hey, we all use the similar thing.
Yeah.
It's like any sport. It kind of eventually boils down to like what's most effective.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why you tend to see that.
Yeah, and I would imagine that it would go very heavy into that stuff because, like, there's so many different like ways you could go on about it because like every single culture in the world has their own shit, which is which is a cool thing. Like if you go to Africa, I mean, like the entirety of the continent, there's like so many different places that have so many different things, right? If you just go to Europe, you have the Celts, which didn't wear armor at all, but wore shields and fucking spear and rushed into battle sometimes. It was crazy. And like the like I don't remember who came up with like all of the full like armored stuff. It's been a thing as sort of human history, I think, for a lot of the shit. Like written history, mind you.
Yeah.
Because it's crazy to me. Like, if we go back all the way back to like the 3000 BC, with the earliest Egyptian sort of like writing. I don't remember which is the oldest culture we know of, but like armor has been a part of human creation for like so long. I wonder what the oldest form of sport for this is, because there's so much stuff you could do. I don't know about all the sports, but I'm pretty sure there's like more than just Bohurt and HEMA and other things like that. In case somebody doesn't know what HEMA is, HEMA is historical martial arts. Bohurt and HEMA isn't separate, but they are together because Bohurt is more practical versus HEMA is all about following.
Yeah, so HEMA is historical European martial arts. So you could say that Bohurt falls under that. In colloquial terms, conversationally, we are separate in the sense that HEMA is generally focused more on one-on-one, and it's also often first touch because you stab somebody and they get dead, right? So like, that's how you win the point. It's closer to fencing in that sense, and they're really focused on, and this is really cool. They're focused on almost archaeologically understanding the manuscripts and the traditions because all was written without words. So they reading it and they're trying to decipher what it was and use what was factually written down by the great fencing masters of that time, right? Bohurt is much more just practical. So we're not now. There are obviously, when I say we're not, there's a lot of people competing in this, and some people are really into the history side. They like they'll look at manuscripts and things. But in general, what we're doing is we're going, okay, we have the armor, we have people we're fighting against, and we're figuring out what works, and assuming that if it worked for us, then a knight 600 years ago probably also figured it out, right? So I do a lot of studying. We do a lot of judo in our sport. We steal a lot from judo. We do a lot of Muay Thai. We steal from Muay Thai techniques, right? I've studied Mongolian wrestling because Mongolian wrestling is a style of wrestling where when you hit the ground, you're out, which is very similar to our sport. So you go, hey, what their throws work. So we steal these things, but at the end of the day, like the body only moves in so many ways. So it's not, there's no judo technique that a guy discovered that is some secret that no one else discovered in different continents, right? It's just they codified it in a certain way, and we go, oh, let's take that and use that and see how it applies in armor, right?
Yeah. Like one of the things that I like to think about when it comes to like stuff, and just thing I like to think about, like because like when you typically go back in time and you read about something, it's like, oh, this guy was like really good at sword fighting. It is probably just because he was unconventional, which is the thing. And like because like if you follow the manuscript and not think for yourself, you don't really get anywhere, which is like the biggest problem, right? That's what I think, at least. It's like that's why I like Bohurt so much in comparison, but like it's fun to think about.
I like the pressure test. You know, it's fine. I like the pressure testing of it. Like, I like that I've had ideas where I go, oh, this is really going to work. And I get out there and go, oh, that really didn't work, right? Like, I learned that move does not work in that context, and I have to try something different, right? It's about really seeing, there's a humanity to it when you're really competing at that hard level where, like, you start to understand people's mindset and their physicality and their approach. And I've, seen fights end before they begin because I've seen teams come in and mentally go, oh, I can't beat that team. And they don't even believe it. They don't believe in themselves. It's okay. There's no reason to even be out there, right? Intimidation works. Trickery works. All within the rule set. No one's cheating with it, but like a lot of, even the literal joke of like, I've been fighting a guy behind, and I'll yell behind you, and I've watched a guy turn his head around to look. And then you hit him, because we're human, and those little, those Tom and Jerry cartoon things kind of work. And like seeing that play out in a real competition to me is what I really like about it, is that there is nothing. I know we've all seen martial art videos on the internet of like some fake, karate master who's doing some magic technique that, defeats all his enemies. But like, there is, you can't believe in any of that if you fight with us because you're going to get hit with an axe, right? Like you can't, you hear a lot of times and, I've talked for American culture, this idea of like guys will be like, oh, I just see red and I can handle anything. And I was like, well, okay, well, come on in and fight us. And turns out you can't, because people who are trained and work out and practice with these weapons know what they're doing, right? Like, I fight with some pretty high level athletes on my team. I'm pretty proud of them, and they work really, really hard to do it. So I think it's really fun to be out there and just competing with people you care about. I love my team, and working together for a common goal, which is to beat another team. And there's, just those great moments of like competition that happen in any sport, but there's a real like simplicity to this. There's no ball, there's no puck, there's nothing else to score. It's just, can you beat the person in front of you? That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, there's so many different like martial arts. Not martial arts. Like your sport reminds me a lot of boxing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Very very similar in like the way that like one-minded sort of one way that it goes. It's very good. It's very fun. I dig it a lot. It is very fun to think about, especially when it comes to like the way that you handle it. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like, since, like, yeah, and I'm gonna dive a little bit out of the topic, I really wish that more people would, for example, like, one of the things that I hate about in video games, movies, TV series, stuff like that, is that, like, I hate it in, like, games like Elden Ring and other things that, like, they don't go to, like, a person that deals with medieval stuff, or, like... Yeah. And, like, so you see, like, these, like, overswings where they're like, they don't... Yeah. Yep. And it's, you see that in movies as well, where armor doesn't do shit, and it's...
Yeah, I'm often wondering why anyone's wearing armor in movies, because nothing seems to... Like, they just die anyway, so, like, why do you... And every time I see that, I think, man, that poor guy, he had to run all the way across that battlefield in 100 pounds of steel, and apparently it doesn't stop anything, so he's dead anyway. Like, might as well not wear it, right? I think that's a common misconception on both ends. One, you've got the movie trope of armor does nothing, right? The hero can just stab through 50 orcs in Lord of the Rings and none of their armor blocks anything, right? Like, that happens. The other side of it is the idea that, like, if you have a guy in heavy armor, he can't do anything, right? He can't move. He's a lumbering giant thing. And it's like, I mean, armor was made because it worked. Like, you can do jumping jacks and somersaults and handstands, anything you want, and I can move around in my armor almost as good as I can out of it, right? There's a couple limitations, right? but it really is flexible, and there's not a lot I can't do in it. My energy level goes down. Like I only do it for so long because of an extra, amount of weight on my body, and on my arms in particular. For me, that's where I think a lot of people misunderstand is that when you put on even just the gauntlets, even just steel gauntlets, putting a couple extra pounds at the end of your arms exhausts you over time. That weight at the end, it's like the idea of like if you hold a weight out for 5 pound weight out at the end, hold it straight out versus just like if you put 5 pounds, in a backpack, right? You can walk around with 5 pounds in a backpack all day, try holding that arm out for 5 minutes and your arm will collapse because, so like there's a lot of just the energy level goes down, but I can do everything in it, right? That's why we train out of armor most of the time because I'm learning all of the body mechanics and I put the armor on, I just do it in the armor.
Yeah, and I really like it because like when we come to like sort of that, it's always been like so weird to me how Hollywood does that. Now there's a lot of like good versions of like fighting online, like if you go onto like Corridor Crew, I believe they are called, and they did like a fantastic, like for example, like but it's like I don't remember what it's called, but it's like literally two men wielding a long sword. Both of them are doing long swords, but they try to do them like movie versions. It's like,
yeah,
and it's like I really want there to be more people like you, and more importantly, like more people that actually have trained in these sort of scenarios where they have actually done some fighting to do these things. Because swords are scary, man.
Yep,
they are terrifying.
Yep.
And it's like, but like armor, like I don't understand why people use armor sometimes. Like it's like, no, I get it obviously, but like we use armor today in the like modern day. Hell, they use shields today too. But like, nah, armor doesn't do anything. It's like, it's so crazy to me. It's so dumb. It's so incredibly stupid. It's a pet peeve I have with stuff, and I love Lord of the Rings, but Jesus Christ, Aragon just wide.
Oh yeah, I love Lord of the Rings. My favorite. I've got Lord of the Rings tattoos. It's my favorite series of all time. I'm not knocking that at all. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But like again, it's Hollywoodification. That's okay. I'm not saying we shouldn't have fantasy. Like that's great. But there is a little bit where I just wish sometimes I go like, if you're gonna put all that gear on, like let's have it do something. Like, let's have a scene where the unarmored guy swings his sword against the orc in giant armor and it bounces off and he panics because he realizes that it's going to be a challenge, right? Like he still can win, he can still stab him through his eye slit and under the armpit and all these other things, but like that's the kind of idea where I go, I want this to feel more. And that's why people ask us all the time, it's like, oh, aren't you gonna get hurt? And I go, not really. Like we have a phrase in the sport called hurt not injured, which means the goal is to hurt someone, to make them feel pain so they don't want to fight anymore. We call it pain compliance. But it's not to injure them. And injuries are relatively rare, right? Not any more than any other sport I've done. Let's put it that way, right? The most common things like, sprained ankles type of stuff because you're running around on the ground, right? Like, I've had one guy on our team that did break his leg, but it's because the guy fell on his leg at a weird angle, and that could have happened in basketball. It wasn't like anything to do with the fight, right? It wasn't even there to throw. It was just like a weird thing. It also depends the level you compete at. And I think this is important for people who might be interested in it. Like I'll talk about my team in New England here, where I train out of a gym called the Knights Hall. We have fighters from people who are just starting to like, they only compete locally, to they do some regional stuff, so they're on the international national teams with us, right? And depending on what event we're doing is the level we compete at, right? So when I fight at a local event with newer fighters, newer competitors, like I use lighter weapons. Like I use different stuff. When I go to international competitions, like everyone's there to fight their hardest. Like we pull out the big stuff, we fight a little harder, and we don't pull our punches, right? Like, not that I ever pull my punch, but like I won't swing at a gap. Like sometimes you have an armored gap. I won't swing at a gap at a local event. I'll do that at an international event because the rules are changing. The competition level's different, right? So if you're interested in it, like fight locally, compete locally. There was a period a couple years ago where I think I fought for 3 months straight every weekend and like never got hurt, right? Like I'd be a little bruised up and sore and I just do it the next weekend. Sometimes when I go to national, international competitions, the next week to 2 weeks, I'm really beat up. but I'm okay, right? I just kind of have to take a week or two off to recover because it's a lot of fighting. And then you kind of let your body heal and you go back and do it.
Yeah, it is fantastic to it's yeah, but like it's fantastic to see what you guys go through sometimes, and some of the stuff I've seen online about this stuff is it's very well done. It's and like it looks very hard, which is the thing. Not to knock anything of you guys, and it is very fun to see how you guys like teamwork is a massive part of your sport, which I love a lot. I think teamwork is something that it's something we should strive more towards, because like it's single contact sport where you have like which is like fantastic for single contact, but like if you're like actually fighting somebody, it's it's typically just a one-on-one. I really like teamwork sports. It's very fun when you work together.
Yeah, that's what drew me to this. It was the only martial art combat sport I've ever seen where you can truly fight as teams. It was a battle, right? Like, and again, there is a whole discipline side of this, which is one-on-one dueling and one-on-one kind of MMA. We call it a pro fight, right? I do those for like training purposes. I don't specialize in those. There's guys I know who are the best in the world. They specialize at that, right? I'm there for the team fighting. That's what excites me, because I like working with a team. I like fighting against a team. I like the idea of like the strategy of fighting together and making choices. And so my position on my team, I fight generally on the left side of the field against the left wooden rail. Rail fighters kind of call me. And my job is many ways similar to American football. I'm kind of like a lineman, right? Or hockey, and more of like the enforcer position. Like my job is to kind of hold the line a lot. And my teammate, my number 2, Dustin, his job, he's a striker. He's there with big axe, and his job's to swing. And we're working together on like when to swing and when to have him leave me and when to stay. Sometimes I'm fighting 2 people alone and he takes off to get an easy kill somewhere else. And sometimes he has to come back and save me because all of a sudden I'm in trouble. Or like, or like I'm pulling people into our backfield and to change their lineup. There's a lot of like nuanced strategy to it that I don't get in any kind of one-on-one sport. So that's what excites me, is thinking about like, oh, we tried this, it didn't work. What do we do next time? And how do we get the opportunity? Because you're always looking for advantages. The idea is to get 2-on-1s whenever you can, right? The anytime it's 2 of us fighting 1 guy, that's good, right? So how do we do that? Like, how do we get the first takedown in a round so that we're up numbers, right? If we're down numbers, if we have 1 guy fall first, well, what's the strategy change, right? And like I said, a lot of time my job's to fight 2 people, and I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to stay alive. I'm trying to hold off 2 people to give us an advantage somewhere else on the field, or to make up for a mistake and catch us back up. And a lot of that is what really drew me to this, was I get to work with people. I came from my sport background. The 2 sports that I did pretty competitively was I played basketball pretty up through high school, and then I ran a basketball camp. I coached. My whole family is basketball players. My sisters were both high level college players. My youngest was sister was a Division I player. So like we played basketball, which is a 5-on-5 sport, right? And then I played tournament paintball for years, which again 5-on-5 tournament paintball. So it's teamwork with guns now, right? Shooting each other with paintball guns, but it's teamwork. And then when I found Bohurt, it's like the same 5-on-5 thing, but now it was like fighting. And now I got to swing an axe, and I was like, that's awesome. It's so much fun. Yeah.
Ah, man. One of the things that like one of the things that I actually remember that I resonated really well with you guys is that like like he may not look like it everybody, but he's actually like a massive nerd. He loves he loves a lot of the stuff that basically comes around, and like during the off times that well, why do you explain what you guys do when you guys are like chilling out and like doing stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think the sport is I mean, we're pretty nerd based, right? It's we're all dressing up as knights and fighting in armor, right? So, I'll even tell you how I found the sport. I found the sport because I was researching board game rules online. I can't remember what game it was, but I'm a big board gamer, and I was trying to figure out how a mechanic worked in a game, and I was trying to find a tutorial on it. And on the right side of YouTube, I saw these guys. it was HEMA. They were fighting. They were testing if spears versus swords. They were doing like a historical test, right? And that was interesting. So I clicked on that, and then right up below that, the next video was all these knights in armor fighting against each other. And it was one of the mass battles from Battle of the Nations, probably back in 2010, 2012, something like that, maybe even earlier than that. And I just saw these guys fighting in armor, like full contact. I was like, this is amazing. It's like, what is this? And I just started looking into it. I heard, oh, it's called Bohurt. So I just started Googling, and I was like, I wonder if there's anyone anywhere near me. And there happened to be one of the top schools in the world an hour away from me. So I just showed up and said, let me do that. And then to my delight, I show up, and not only do they have a training room for fighting in the gym, right, and they also have an entire board game D&D room, right, because everyone into this is into the nerdy stuff too, right? For me, I go, I don't, like, I've never been someone who believes that there's like jocks and nerds and separate. You just do the things you love, and this sport is very open to that. We have people from all walks of life. We get people from all different communities. So you get the pure athletes who just discovered this. You get the guys who've been playing D&D their whole life and go, oh, I get to be a knight, right? And you get kind of a mix of Renaissance fair people who come in. I do every once in a while. I'll do a Renaissance show where I'll go like a Renaissance fair, and we do demo fights. We're not really fighting competitively, but just talking to little kids and getting to take pictures with people, and they'll come over and they'll want to learn about it. I'll say, hey, come to my gym and try it, right? And we don't exclude anybody. I don't care how athletic you are. I don't care your fitness level. I don't care if you want to be the best in the world or you just always wanted to swing a sword since you were 8, right? Like, we want you at our gym because we'll let you compete at the level you want to, right? I would say comfortably we probably have in the 2 schools in our, we have kind of 2 gyms. There's probably 100-ish people, give or take, right now competing at some level. But probably 20 to 25 that are like full-on armored up fighting all the time. Then you got some people who every once in a while they come and do an event. You got a bunch of people who are just like coming and training, like working out and hanging out with us. But yeah, we play D&D together. Do a bunch of board game stuff. A lot of my friends are big video game players, guys. I don't have a lot of time for it, so I'm not. But every time, I know when Elden Ring came out, like that's all I heard about in my team chats for like a month. It was just everybody talking about it. I said, listen, I'd love to, but I'm busy. And then actually my gym, we run a LARP. We run a live action role play event, a Warhammer fantasy based LARP, which is awesome. It's so much fun. So I've got my main weapon is a flamberge, a greatsword, right? A foam greatsword that I get.
Oh,
that's super fun too. Cause, you go to a LARP and you got a bunch of regular, LARP people who are just there for the LARP and the character building, but also mixed in there's some of the best fighters in the world, right? Like I have literally been fighting a vampire count, as a human warrior against a vampire, and I realized that the guy in the vampire costume, oh man, that's Sam. And Sam's the best longsword fighter in the world. The guy's won the world championship multiple times. And I'm fighting across him with foam swords. And all of a sudden it got a lot harder. It went from like, we're LARPing to like, oh, we're fighting. And it was like, yeah, and he's amazing. But like, we're all just big nerds at heart who just found this thing and go, oh, we get to also become competitors and athletes at the same time. And that's great. I've actually seen a lot of empowerment out of this too for people who their whole life were told like, oh, you're a nerd or you're not cool and whatever. And we bring them in and say, yeah, but it is cool, right? If you want to get in shape, man, we'll train you right up. I run at my own house once a month. I have guys over who come and lift weights with me just to help teach them how. I run seminars to teach people about the sport because to me it goes like, I think a lot of people just, they think they can't do something, and then you go, hey, no, you can. Come on and try it.
Yeah. Such a inspiring thing. Fucking love that. It's great. I might try that stuff out myself at some point. I genuinely might. It's because that stuff is because I know I always want to try stuff like this out. I've never truly been that fit in my life. Just straight up.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Just getting into it now. To be fair, I work out every day now, but it's very fun to it's very fun to talk about this stuff, especially with because when we when specifically I was a child, there was a clear delineation between groups.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And you learn that, and like it is kind of like this stuff that is forced on you. It's like the big guy is the scary guy, you know. Is very, very, very stereotypical, I think is the term.
Yeah.
But like it's so nice to see that like that isn't true. And I've seen it a lot more nowadays, like especially with like people that work out in YouTubers is a great example. There's a lot of them that is like very fit. A really good example is Star Wars Theory, and like he's like a huge like weightlifting man. Is just
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of nerds that is just that coming out of the woodworks now that is just like very built, very very big. I like that.
And I've really loved seeing, I can think of individual people I know that I've watched them transform themselves and believe in themselves, right? And they always were, told or believed or just under, it was kind of the culture that like, they're like, oh, I can't be, I'm a nerd. What I do is and I go, yeah, you can be a nerd, but you also can train and you can be in shape. And now you got a reason to be. I think that's what's cool about the sport too, right? It can be very hard for people who aren't naturally gym people to be like, oh, I got to go work out every day, right? Like, I don't love working out. I there's times I like it, but I don't love it. And there's some of it that I hate. There's some stuff that I'm not good at. And I go, okay. But I go and do it because I go, you know what? For me, it's two reasons. One, there's going to be a guy across the ring who's going to hit me with an axe if I don't work hard. So like, I got to worry about that. But also, my teammates rely on me. And I want to do a good job for them, right? And I want to be good at this. And so that is inspiring to me too, right? I've watched people transform their entire bodies. From guys who've come in who go, I saw you guys at a fair. I really want to try it, but I'm not in shape. We go, great. One of the workout styles that we do a lot of Tabata or HIIT, high intensity interval training is the phrase. And the reason is it's like 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, for whatever the exercise is. And the reason we do that a lot with our training is that it doesn't matter your fitness level. Like if it's 20 seconds of push-ups, maybe you can do one. Maybe I can do 12 or 15, but we're still doing it for 20 seconds together. And eventually you go from 1 to 3 and 3 to 5, and you're only competing against yourself. If I say to you, hey, come on in, do 20 push-ups, and you can't do 20, well, that's discouraging. If I just say do it for 20 seconds the best you can, then you're only going to improve, right? And you don't care about the person next to you. I'll tell very honestly, like one of the areas, like I am a relatively big, strong guy. That's my build. I am wildly inflexible, right? Like I'm working on yoga. I'm working on stretching. Like I'm working on speed work because like I need to get better at that. And so that's my challenge for myself, right? Where I watch other people come in, I go, yeah, you can't pick up heavy weights, but man, you're very flexible and touch your toes, and that's great. And I wish I could do that. So we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Just how do you use them?
I mean, one of the things that I would probably recommend, like if anybody is like watching, one of the things that I would genuinely recommend is that my uncle was the man that actually got me to work out, like very funnily enough. He is not a very fit man himself, but like he's like generally like, yeah, he has a fundamental belief in that I should have a long and prosperous life, and he believes that requires to work out. So one of the things that he said to me is that, once per day, walk for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's all you do. Start with that, expand. And now I walk 8 kilometers a day. It's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I love that, man. But like, yeah, like if you're out there and you're listening genuinely and you don't have the encouragement, start with 20 minutes and expand it. Like if you can walk 4 kilometers, if you can't and you just want to start with 2, start with that. Once you do that, do a jog. Like once you've gotten to 4 kilometers on a daily basis, you could do a jog. You try to jog a kilometer. If you can't get there, half is enough. Just build. That's the important thing, is that don't start that high, start that low, because that's what not people do. People over-exercise. That's the biggest problem I've seen people do.
Yeah, you'll jump in way too hard.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that I talk about this a lot in both my real life, my job, and in my like training and my coaching and other stuff too, is that I think a lot of people rely on motivation. Yeah. Being like, oh, I got to be motivated. And I go, I don't think motivation matters that much. because there's a lot of days I got to go to the gym tonight. I got to go drive to my gym. I got to train there. I really do not feel like going today. I've had a busy work day. I've got a lot going on. I don't want to. And if I waited to feel motivated, I probably wouldn't do it. But if I go, hey, I set a commitment, I'm going to do the commitment, and I'll come out the other side. And I also think sometimes people will try to encourage you by being like, oh, if you go work out, you'll feel better. I don't know. I may not. Sometimes I work out and I feel just as bad at the beginning as the end, but I got stuff done I made myself better even if I didn't feel better. So I just do the thing, right? And that's like one life lesson to me a while to learn, when I was in my early 20s, I struggled with it. And then it suddenly realized that it's like, if you just do the commitment and don't worry about how you feel about it, it usually works out better. And usually feel better over the long run. Maybe not immediately, but you'll feel better, right? So that's just kind of how I function with most things. And it helps in the sport, and it helps me become a better teammate. It helps me teach other people. Like, I love coaching people and helping to get them into it. That's as I said, we talked about my YouTube channel. I started the YouTube channel Woodchuck Knight, basically because there wasn't a lot of information out there of the sport. And I was like, I have some stuff I can share. So go look at my channel, and I make basic videos about some of the fighting stuff. I talk about different types of events, but it's not about, I don't care if people watch my channel. I just care that, like, if you're interested in, I can help you get started. And one of the things that I'm most proud of for me in this sport is when I travel around the country and even the world, I have competitors come up to me and say, I started because of you, right? Because I saw your videos and I felt inspired, and I said, oh, that's all I care about, right? Because you feel, or like I started building a team because you gave me advice. I go, great. Like, it's not about me. I couldn't care less about me, but I'm getting to see other people flourish, and that's what makes me happy.
Yeah, and it's and I think that the biggest encouragement I could give to you, if you don't have this, just start. There's no better way to do it than to start working out.
You just have to start doing stuff.
You just have to, once you get it done once, you can do it again. Like, you just need to get out that door. And, if you have a bunch of work, I think it's better to do it outdoors anyway. I like to do it outdoors.
Whenever I can, I prefer to be outdoors, yeah.
Yeah. I really like to go to the forests. Norway is, like, filled with forests everywhere, so it's just very nice.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that ability and you live in England and rainy all the time, then I obviously understand you. But it's kind of good.
Yeah, go out in the rain. I've done it. Like, just go walk in the rain. It doesn't matter. It's 20 minutes of your day, right? You go change, you get home. Like, I think that so many times, I think in this sport but in life, like, we get in our own way. We get in our own head and go, I can't. Just go do the thing. It's fine. Like, it doesn't take much time. Now, if I'm saying spend 2 to 3 hours a day working out, no, that's a lot. Don't do that. I mean, eventually you might do that. Like, sometimes I do that, but some days I go, like, I'll joke. Funnily enough, like, one thing I took up last year, I started golfing with my kids. And I started golfing. And why do I do it? Because I get to walk for 2 hours. I go play 9 holes with my sons, and I'm terrible. I'm the world's worst golfer. I don't care, right? Like, I just get to walk around in a beautiful outdoors, and with my kids. And for me, that's my walk for the day. Right, so I do that, once a week or so now that the weather's nice here, and then, like, just kind of going out and doing stuff, living life, trying things, and especially with this Bohurt, if you're interested in it, like, and this again, I'm going to share my own life values. It's like, I don't want to get to the end of my life and say I didn't try things, right? And one of the best things that's ever happened to me is when I find out things aren't for me. Right? Like, I go try something and go, oh, I hate that. I go, awesome. That's great news. I can cross that off my list and go, I don't ever have to think about that again. I tried it, right? Like, or I go and try and go, wow, I love this. I had no idea I'd love this. And again, I'm not going to minimize it. It's scary. Like, when I first showed up to the first armored combat gym practice, knew nobody, didn't know what was going on, and I had no experience. And walk into a gym full of guys who fight in armor, I was like, this is terrifying. Just go in, introduce yourself, and say, hey, I'm here to learn. And I've never had a bad experience with that, like, ever, with anything I've ever done. I just go, hey, I'm here to learn. And people go, okay, and they teach you.
Yeah, like, it's the same way that I got into D&D, right? I had a DM basically played the game with me, And then all of a sudden, I just said to myself, well, I want to fucking do this myself. I had a fucking horrible time the first couple of times, but I really grew to like it. It's very fun.
I felt the same with D&D. No one in my family or my childhood played D&D. It was not. We did a lot of board game and nerd and video games, but D&D was not a thing. It's just we didn't know about it. And the first time I played it, I was like overwhelmed. I was confused.
Yeah.
That book, the rule book is thick, right? There's like, it's confusing. Like there's other books. Like you look at that and you go, oh, I got to read. And I just kind of showed up and I said, hey, can someone you're all clearly having fun doing this. There must be a reason. Let me figure it out. And I did that, right? And then I've played other games where I go, you're all having fun doing this. And I play the game and go, I do not like this game. I'm not going to play this one again. But I learned and I tried it. And that's just like there's so many things that I think a lot of us get in our own heads and, hold ourselves back or worry what people are going to think about us. And I just don't worry about it because like everyone's worried about it. We're all imposters. We're all afraid of things. So just go do the thing. And, I think I shared with you recently. I went there's an Irish hurling club in my town or a couple towns over, and I just saw a post on Facebook like come try hurling. I was like, I don't even know how to do this. I just showed up. And it was really hard. Like I don't know how to hold the hurling stick. I don't know how to hit the ball. I did it all wrong. I'm running around this field, lost it. But I go, that was cool. And now they invited me to come back. I'm gonna try to go back in a couple weeks if the day's free, right? It's just kind of just say yes to adventure, and then figure out which ones you're passionate about.
Yeah.
But that to me has helped me get through most of my personal and professional life. Is kind of just say yes.
Yeah, the only way to meet new people and make new friends is literally go out there and try out stuff. Mm-hmm. It is fantastic. Yep. All right. And I know how easy it is I'm a huge gamer, and I know how easy it is to get stuck behind a screen. Don't do it all the time. It helps to get out. It's very good. If you don't have any employment, if you don't have any means to deal with anything and you basically are just like sitting behind your computer screen, don't do that. Go outside sometimes. It actually helps with your mental health sometimes, not all the time. And I'm not saying don't play games, obviously fucking stuff.
Oh yeah, I love games. Yeah, games are great.
Yeah, just don't do it all the time. It helps to walk outside sometimes.
Yeah, there's a guy actually an Instagram guy. He's a Shaolin monk, and I follow him. And I always remember one of the things he said. He's like, if you're feeling sad and you're feeling down, he's like, go outside and do something. And if that doesn't work, then figure out why you're sad and down.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that works so often. If I just get up and go do, even if it's alone, or I go find a group of people but go do something else other than what you're doing right now. And then you'll figure out if maybe it was just you needed to go do something. And then if it doesn't work, then you can sit down and go, what's making me feel this way, right? Like, and I think that's, it's really hard. I'm not minimizing anyone's journey and challenges because it can be, but again, that's why, and for me, that's kind of back to sport, why I'm so passionate about it. It's the thing that hooked me. It's the thing where I said, oh, I'm good at this, and I like it, and I can help other people, and I like the community. And now my teammates are some of my best friends in the world, and I wouldn't know them if I hadn't just showed up to a gym one day.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's such a value behind just, doing that stuff, and it's great. I think it's just very important to do that, and it's good. I do wonder, I do wonder if there's some good messages we could get out here, because that's a really good message. I like that one. It's let's
talk about how you and I met. You just reached out to me.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You said, hey, yeah, like that alone, that you literally said, you just sent me a message being like, hey, I want to learn more about this.
Yeah,
that's how now we're talking, and now I know a guy in Norway, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone in Norway before this.
Yeah.
You just put yourself out there.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember I'm a huge extrovert when it comes to stuff. I love and I said to myself, just I want to learn more about the practical uses of how people would fight in medieval combat. And I thought to myself, I'm gonna just bring this up to this guy. Messaged him in his shield video. I was like, this never ever gets anybody's attention, but I tried. That's what matters. Yep. you gotta just try stuff. Just don't be afraid to do it. Just try stuff. Like we've talked together like 2 times before this, by the way, over like an hour period where we just talked about. Whoa, what the? Hold on 2 seconds.
No worries.
Oh, it's just my bag. Oh, sorry. I thought something. Sorry, I just heard a thump. It was my backpack that I wear whenever I go outside. It's yeah. Sorry, it's a bit of a mess. But yeah, there's a lot of yeah. But we have talked together like 2 times before this, and like some of the stuff I always talked about because because of the reason that like I recently did because like I really like the idea to like talk about like medieval combat because I want to bring more stuff into D&D because D&D kind of misses the point of medieval combat. There's a lot of stuff that it could have that it doesn't have. And I said to myself, yeah, I gotta just go out to reach. And sometimes people are so shy of talking to people these days. And people are not going to, like, okay, I'm lying. There's sometimes people are going to be like, oh, don't fucking talk to me. I don't want to hear it. There's sometimes. But, like, that's very rare. Most people are
It's so rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so rare.
Most people are like, dude, what the fuck? Yeah, sure, man. It's fucking chill. Let's come over here and have a chat with me. Like, most people, like, want to have interactions just like you. I struggle with that a lot with my family because I struggle to, but I've gotten into calling my mom every weekend because of the reason that is important. You know, you shouldn't be afraid to call somebody because you are like, they don't want to talk to me. Don't do that to yourself.
I always put myself in like just flip the scenario, right? Like if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, I know you're passionate about this thing. Do you want to talk about it?" Like almost everybody goes, "Yeah, someone finally asked," right? Like I'm a highly introverted person, right? Like I am very introverted. Like I am. I joke about it because I put myself out there, but I get really high levels of anxiety talking to people or reaching out to people. Like I get anxious if I go to a new space. It causes me to get like really nervous. And like one of the funniest things is like I get really nervous if I have to go to a new place and like park in a parking garage like that. I just get like panicked. I don't know why, but I go, okay, those are just my feelings. But like if I were to talk to somebody and if someone were to ask me a question, I'm always gonna share my feelings and be nice to them. So why wouldn't they be nice to me? And it's almost never let me down. I can think of 1 or 2 times in my life where I've reached out to someone and they've been a real jerk. And I go, well, that's a you problem, right? Like that's the other guy problem. But 99% of the time, and in fact, like I work at a virtual job. Like I work, I manage people virtually and I've got, 60-ish people, but I'm working a huge organization. And like all I do all day is reach out to random people and then go, hey, I need help with this. Like this is your department. And I've never had anyone be like that. No, they all go, oh yeah, I'd love to help. Because we all just want to take care of each other once you create that human interaction. So for me, that's a big piece of it. And I can think of like, again, you reached out of nowhere and we've had a great conversation and now we're doing this, right? Like, I've got one of my best friends in the world. They're my best friend because I was with a group of people, and we were. I'm in America, so we've got guns, and they're talking about wanting to go to a shooting range, and I have a shooting. I teach firearm instructions as a part-time job, so I have a shooting range. And I said, hey, if any of you want to come by, you're welcome to come. I'll just come on over. We'll set a day. I'll teach you some stuff. And that one person said, I'd love to. Everyone else was interested, and it was kind of like, oh yeah, I'll call you someday. We'll do. And they never did, right? One person said, yeah, I'll come by Tuesday. They came by. Now they're my best. Now we're best friends, right? Because like I never would have met that person. They didn't just take that little bit of effort and say, oh, I want to try something new, right? So for me, a lot of it is just like say yes to things. If you're interested in this sport, if you want to get involved in Bohurt, like find a local team. If you can't find one, reach out to me. I'll talk to you, right? Like. If you want to build your own team, there's ways to do it. It
really helps. Like genuinely, like don't be afraid to go and talk to this guy, especially if you're in the US. But if you're not in the US, don't be afraid to message him. I
got a guy in Taiwan right now that I'm coaching. That he reached out to me and he's trying to build his own team there. He's great. He's a great Muay Thai fighter, but he's learning to do armored combat. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he talks to me once a month. We probably have a conversation about some new thing, but he reached out, same thing. He's reached out. I said, yeah, so we talk all the time, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's like it's not, language barrier. Obviously, if we have them, great. But other than that, that's the like we can find ways to communicate. And I love hearing about people's lives and experiences and seeing what they take away and do with this. Um, yeah,
Yeah. Because because like you and me, like a really good example is like you and me when it comes to stuff. It's great. I, oh man, it is. Yeah, no, it is very important to do that and to reach out and talk to people and not be afraid to do this. And I think it's a very important thing because like I don't want humanity to become closed in, right? That is my biggest scare. Is that don't get me wrong? I believe that there's more good people in the world than bad. I objectively
yeah.
do this.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I don't think there's such a thing that like half the world is bad, half the no. I think it's like 90% is good. It's just that 10% that's just maybe even lower. It's probably not even that.
Yeah, sure. Whatever the number is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think evil is a thing. Well, evil is obviously a thing, but I don't think evil is an actual like.
Yeah, half the world's not around being bad. I think usually it's otherism, right? You don't know, you see people as others, and like they're not part of your community, and they don't seem real, and that's where the stuff it's easy to ignore. But yeah, I think the whole world getting closed in, I totally get that. And I think, unfortunately, again, we're talking different topics, but I think that while I'm a big social media person because I use it for business and Facebook, and I use it for sharing my sport, and I use it for family things like, and Instagram, all that, that's all good. It's all huge positives. But like, it's also talking in a vacuum a lot of times, right? Like I see groups of friends who only talk to their other group of friends who are already in that same little circle, and they complain about the same thing. Whatever side of the aisle you're on doesn't make a difference. Like,
yeah.
And I go like, when was the last time you talked to someone new? Right? When was you reached out and had a human conversation with someone versus kind of a text chain on a Facebook message and everyone's upset about something? And I go like, yeah, but if you talk to those people, like they're probably just fine. They probably just don't even, or if you talk, you'd understand the differences. And I've hung out with groups of people in all different areas, and then generally they're pretty good.
Yeah,
right?
Like one of the things I like to do is that there's a system called VR chat. Now, VR chat is its own problem. I'm not going to get into it, but it is
Sure.
But VR chat, most importantly, is a system that is set up where on desktop or VR, where you can go and you can meet people, new people across the world. They can be in your country, they can be in the US. That's how I met several of my friends, some of them my best friends, and like. And that is literally just by like going in. One of them I just listened. Another person I talked to. Hell, I go on there to get inspired. Like it is very good. And if you don't have the safety of going outside to talk to people, don't be afraid to like look up like alternatives, like text.
Yeah, there's other ways around it. Yeah.
You don't need to go on like a text chain. You could easily go on like on like a voice chat system and just do that. Because I've talked to a lot of people down from that bridge. If you know what I mean. And it's very good to, because like you never know the kind of experience you're gonna have meeting somebody new. Like because you could just have met your new best friend, right? I have 4 best friends. And then they're great. They're fantastic. I love them. They are. I can't even complain. It is great. I have. It's. Meeting new people is good for your mental health, and it's good for your physical health, and no, maybe not physical, mental. Sure.
I think it's even physical.
Yeah, because
it causes you.
Yeah. Yeah. You're not so stressed out, which is fair. Yeah.
Well, I can think of one of my favorite examples is a guy who actually trains with us now sometimes, and I met him. Oh man, it must be 4 or 5 years ago. We're doing an event. It was like a Renaissance-y type fair event, and he just happened to be there. He wasn't even into medieval stuff. He was there with other people who just dragged him along. And at the end of the thing, I saw him standing there kind of looking at us, and I just kind of waved at him, and he walked over, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" And he was like, "What is this?" And he's like, I'm like, "Oh, it's Armored Combat." I gave him a little 5-minute talk. I gave him a website. I was like, hey, go, because he told me where he's at. He's in New York area, which is, a couple hours, you feel 5 hours away from me, but he'd been over in our area. I sent him to the link to the New York team. And I said, hey, if you want to do more like this, go check it out. They're great guys. 2 years later, I'm fighting at a big event in Virginia, and I'm fighting against a New York team, and we beat them, and it was good. But afterward, the guy comes up to me, and he'd been on the New York team, and he's like, hey, I got into this because of you. And like I've been waiting 2 years to compete against you, to like get a chance to fight you, because like and I go, oh wow, like if I hadn't taken that 5 minutes for no reason other than just like wave at a guy and talk to him, like it's changed. Now he actually moved up in our area and he trains with us pretty regularly, and he's a great guy and he's a good friend of mine, right? And it's all because of like these little moments of just putting yourself out there. So yeah, I think that we can talk about that in the overall world, but I can talk about particularly in my sport. It's a very welcoming sport. It doesn't look like it when you see guys bash each other with axes and steel, but like most of us hang out afterward, right? Like when you're in the list, I am not your friend. And in the ring, so we call it a list. When they're in that arena, I am not your friend, right? Like I am not nice to people who are fighting against me. That is, like I am a mean guy in that list. And I hit hard and I fight hard and I want to break the person on the other side so he doesn't want to fight me today. But as soon as that we're done and that flag comes down and we're out of armor, like we're all just hanging out, right? Like we're all hanging out, and I get to know people all over the world because of that, and it's really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, most of the stuff is for show, like behind the scenes, I imagine. Like it's very similar to boxing during the the stuff where you're just like, I hate you.
Oh yeah, all the whole like that stuff. Yeah, and again, we've done that promotionally for fun, but even in there, like. Yeah, I don't pull punches. Like I hit hard.
Yeah.
I've got guys. There are people who do not like fighting me, and I've been told it afterwards. Saying every time we line up against you, I get scared, and I go, "Good, that's what I wanted." But afterward, I want to hang out because like you're in the same sport as me. We care about the same stuff, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's it's just part of the, and I'm a believer too that once we get in that ring, like I don't want you to hold back either, right? Like one of the I feel like it's a respect level. Now, again, when I say that, I'm not talking like fighting new people, where we're doing it's essentially a training event. Like if I go up against a guy, it's his first time in armor, I'm gonna be extra nice, right? Like we're gonna work together to help him have a good show and put on a good performance and all that. But when it's competitive, I go like, if you hold back on me, I'm gonna be mad at you, right? Because I came here to compete, right? In fact, one of the only times I've ever gotten really angry is we were doing an event. It was 3-on-3. And we were down. We had an injury. We had someone's armor issues. We could only put 2 fighters in for a round, and the other team, trying to be nice, dropped a fighter to go 2-on-2 against us, and I flipped out on him. I was yelling at him. I was like, "No, you get that guy in there. I will don't disrespect me." It's like if we can't field 3 people, that's our problem. And then I was like, and they put 3 in and we got beat senseless. And my other teammate was not happy with me. He's like, why are you doing this? I was like, because it's disrespectful for you to put in, like, we are supposed to put 3 people in. If we can't do our job, you shouldn't make it nice for us.
Yeah.
And my other teammate was like, why are you doing this, buddy? Like, and I was like, I'm mad. And we got beat up so bad. He's like, come on. I was like, I don't care. Don't disrespect me. But to me, that's in the ring. Once you're out of the ring, it's all kindness. One of the kind of phrases you'll hear around the sport is it's pretty common. We got a sticker on from a couple companies make it. It's called "Bohurt is love," right? And that's kind of the slogan. "Bohurt is love," right? So like when you're in that ring, we're gonna love you as hard as we can by hitting you as hard as we can with axes. And then when you're out of that ring, we're all best friends. We all care about each other because you got in there and you competed, right? And it's scary. So if you're gonna get in there and do it, then like you've crossed that line of now anyone who's gotten that ring deserves to say, hey, I was a fighter, right? And I think that's really cool.
Man, dude, it's so much fun to talk to you about this stuff, man. It's great. Honestly, like hours sync past and I don't even notice that.
I know, yeah.
It's been over an hour now.
I know, yeah. We kind of get going, huh?
Yeah. No, it's good. And I know that you have to like go in like 10 minutes, which is is not great. But I talked to like a lot of people on. I talked to like 4 people. That's not a lot of people on this podcast, and like there's been like people And that was like when I was getting into D&D as well, but like now I've like moved over to an entirely new channel. I kind of abandoned this progress, and it's nice to be back and just having like a chat with people. I might do this again where I like reach out to more people I like.
Yeah, I think you should. This is really great, and I think there should be more shows that are like this, where it's reaching out to people from different, unique spaces, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I love seeing what other people are doing, and like, getting to experience different stories is really, really valuable.
I agree. I think it's fucking great. I want more people to not be afraid of reaching out to people, and I think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna message a lot of people in the future, especially like small channels. I reckon, because big channels don't typically pay attention to people like us.
They're too busy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably it. Yeah, I reckon.
Yep.
I reckon it's there's a lot of things, but like I'll stick to that, and because. I who knows what the next thing I'll reach out to. Maybe I'll reach out to a boxer. That'd be really funny. Who knows? It's but I really want to see what that is like, because I don't only want to go into sport. I want to meet a historian at some point. I think that would be great. And talk to a historian about historical events, and then a sci-fi dude, which is like a huge,
Yeah, there's a lot of places you can go with it.
There's a lot of things. I want to just, because I.G.A.S stands for individual games and stories, and that is like, story can be anything. Like, what is your story? Yep. And you've told everybody your story, and I've been really happy with that.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's very, very cool to have the chance to talk to you and share this. And like I said, if people want to learn more, there's a channel link, and you can always reach out to me, and I'm happy to talk. Because, again, this is what I do and what I care about, and what I like to promote.
Yeah, and like everybody, like, genuinely, like, I'm being serious when I said, like, he's really good. Like when I made my medieval reference stuff for recently, I reworked. I'm just gonna share what I've done.
Yeah, go for it. It's awesome.
Yeah, recently I reworked like 4 things, but like one of the things I did was I fundamentally believe that in D&D, shields are garbage. Shields feel too simple. Because shields is like, imagine you have a piece of plastic on your arm, and then your arm is no longer there. It's just hair, and it doesn't move from this location. It just remains on this arm, and you don't get to do anything with this arm. And a shield is more than that. A shield is, by quote unquote, a weapon in a sense of term. You can use it to bash people, hit people. And when you're fighting against monsters, like, imagine a dragon's breath. You could probably hide behind that shield, even though that shield would probably melt, but still, there's so many cool things, and I'm working on it as we speak. But to be specific, like, I've, like, divvied up, like, 3 fantasy-style stuff, like, two things that are real, and then 3, and the third is just a heavy shield, which is tower shield, and then deployable shields, which is, like, directly from medieval context. But I don't want to get too far into it. But the point is that like light, medium, and heavy shields is the most important thing, and then medium is like Viking shields, kite shields, stuff like that. Heavy is like tower, massive chunky shields that you can just hide behind, and not only that, but you can like do stuff. And the specific, to just explain it in a simple way, it's fighting styles that have given to shields that you get to take as a certain classes. And like light shields, you move around your target. Medium, you defend an ally, or you just take on like an ability that you don't have to think about, essentially. And heavy shields is literally the same, but heavy shields is all about essentially being a tank is the thing. Medium is kind of a mix of that, so you can go a medium shield and be a tank, but like heavy is like, you want a movement, but yeah, and that is what it is, essentially. And it's just stuff you take to make yourself like a better fighter, I think is the main point. Whew. But yeah, and because of him, I really figured out what's the edge. Because before this, I didn't have a way of quantifying it. Now I have a way of doing it. And it's very fun.
Glad to help.
Yeah. And I couldn't done it without you, man. Like, genuinely.
Sounds great. I think it's cool. I think it's very cool. I think it's very unique, and I really like reading through the rules you're working on so far. So, yeah. I'm excited to see more of where you go with it.
yeah, I reckon I'm gonna go many places with it now because I've redone 4 rules since then, and the thing is that those 4 rules are it's just gonna get more expensive, and the shield stuff is gonna get bigger and bigger. But I've used a lot of your examples, and what I'm going to do with the last one. What I'm gonna do with the last rule, which is just a simple thing, is add like grappling effects and stuff like that you can do 2 shields, which is the thing. And like I also want to do stuff with weapons, but that's another problem entirely. I don't want to dive too far into it, but I will probably make an entire video on that altogether. I reckon I'm gonna make a lot of videos on my second channel as well. I want to make more videos on this channel too, like other than just gameplay videos. But yeah, it's fun. Yeah. But yeah, it's great. I do wonder if this is the perfect time to end it, honestly. If
Yeah, I think we've covered a lot today. So I've appreciated the conversation. Thanks for letting me tell my story, and let me share. Like I said, the reason I do any of this stuff is hopefully it inspires one person out there to go do something different. It could be the sport, which I love, but it could just be saying, hey, I'm going to go try something. And I think if we do that, that to me is a success. So I really thank you for letting me share my story and my voice and being on your show.
yeah. Well, thank you for showing up, man. I appreciate you. Anyway, everybody, you guys have a lovely night, and I honestly hope that everybody has had a good weekend and will continue to have a good summer forward. So, everybody, good night.
Bye, everyone.